When I was researching about you, you have such a interesting profile, I think, in the political landscape.
This House do now adjourn. Mr. Rehman Chisti.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for this opportunity.
मैं यहाँ बरताने में आया था 1984 में. मेरी उम्र 6 साल की थी. मेरे वालिद साहब एक जिलिंगम की जो मस्जिद है वहाँ के इमाम थे.
And he migrated on his own?
Yeah, he had to. जनरल वज़ीर का हुकूमत का वक़्त था. पीपल पार्टी के एक्टिविस्ट के लिए बहुत मुश्किल था. मैंने अपने वालिद साहब को पहले 6 साल में नहीं देखा. तो यहाँ के देखा पहली बार जब मेरी अम्मी मुझे कहती थी हीथ्रो एयरपोर्ट में ये हैं आपके वालिद साहब.
Wow. And you were not following politics?
I had an interest in politics when I was at university. I wanted to get experience of parliament. I knew no one. मैंने उस वक्त 350 members of parliament को letter लिखा. Can I be your researcher? So I spent 1999 in the House of Commons in the summer as a researcher. And then उसके बाद I met Bibi. And Bibi needs a researcher. I'm 19. But she never made me feel like that. She made me feel the most important person in front of you. She said, so what can you do to help me with regards to the restoration of democracy in Pakistan? I'm 19.
And you're 19.
I'm 19. I'm 19. And then she took the pen out, she wrote down, and she said, that's the address that you need to come to tomorrow, to my house. And I said, okay, I'll get the cab and I'll come to the office. She said, no, don't get a cab, you're a student, get the bus.
Wow. And what did you learn from Benazir while working with her, and which helped you like in your career?
I remember asking Bibi this. I said, Bibi, what's the key to your success? And she said to me, perseverance, never give up. And I remember when I went off to university, the little notes that Bibi used to send. So this is the handwritten note that Bibi gave me.
Whether you say it like a conspiracy theory or what, कि अमेरिका जो है वो decide करता है कि अगला army chief कौन होगा या अगला वज़ीर आज़म कौन होगा. How much reality is that?
People have different conspiracy theories. जैसे आपने COVID में देखा, कहते हैं कि look, if you take the vaccination, the government's putting chip in you, and ये तो complete nonsense था. But in terms of जो domestic situation, कौन army chief होता है, कौन नहीं होता.
Rehman, thank you so much for taking the time out. When I was researching about you, you have such a interesting profile, I think, in the political landscape. Quite a diverse background, and then thoda sa corporate touch as well, then politics, and then most, I think, importantly, working with the with Pakistan and especially with Benazir. तो उसमें हम लोग जाएंगे. But maybe we start a bit of your background. Where were you from? Where did you grow up? Or how did you then move into this world?
Yeah, well, Talha, can I just say first of all, आपका बहुत शुक्रिया कि आपने मुझे आपने शो पर बुलाया और it's always good to interact and share ideas. And I think it's for me कि आप मुझसे पूछना चाहते हैं कि इस जर्नी कहाँ से शुरू हुई और हम कैसे यहाँ पहुँचे. मैं यहाँ बरताने में आया था 1984 में. मेरी उम्र 6 साल की थी. एंड मेरे वालिद साहब एक जिलिंगम की जो मस्जिद है वहाँ के इमाम थे. 1970s में जो मेरे वालिद साहब थे वो उनको भुट्टो साहब ने एडवाइज़र बनाया था अमीर खान साहब का, जो वज़ीर आज़म आज़ाद कश्मीर के थे, ऑन अमूर दीनिया. और उसके बाद जब भुट्टो साहब को सज़ा मिली एंड जो पीपल पार्टी में जो थे एक्टिविस्ट और हुकूमत के ओहदेदार, they had to leave. एंड मेरे वालिद साहब 1976 से 78 तक हुकूमत थे. एंड 78 में वो फिर यूनाइटेड किंगडम में आए.
And he migrated on his own, like he wanted to left Pakistan, yeah?
So yeah, he had to. उस वक्त ये थी कि जब आप political party activist थे,
Okay.
जनरल वज़ीर का हुकूमत का वक़्त था, पीपल पार्टी के एक्टिविस्ट के लिए बहुत मुश्किल था. एंड जैसे सबको पता है वहाँ रहे, जेल जाएं और डिफरेंट चैलेंजेस आती थी. एंड उस वक्त वालिद साहब बिकॉज एक इमाम थे और हुकूमत के एक उनका ऑर्डर था. एंड उन्होंने डिसाइड किया कि उनके लिए उस वक्त बेहतर था कि मुल्क से बाहर निकल जाए. सो वो 78 में यहाँ आए. एंड मैंने अपने वालिद साहब को पहले 6 साल में नहीं देखा.
Okay.
सो मेरी पैदाश थी 1978 एंड मेरे वालिद साहब उसी वक्त यूनाइटेड किंगडम आ गए. एंड मेरी अम्मी और मेरी बहन वहाँ रहे. एंड हमने वालिद साहब को यहाँ आके देखा पहली बार 1984 में. एंड जब मेरी अम्मी मुझे कहती थी हीथ्रो एयरपोर्ट में, ये हैं आपके वालिद साहब.
Wow.
So जो sacrifice होते हैं,
What was your reaction?
I think उस वक्त मेरी 6 साल की उम्र थी. And जो आपकी जो memory उस वक्त होती है, of course you have excitement कि ये मेरे वालिद साहब हैं. But it was a sense of excitement and joy, but also a sense of it's a new territory because पहले वो रिश्ता तो नहीं था ना, because you've never seen them. But that's why I think, Joe, when you see people who have gone through different journeys and not being able to see their parents, that bond is so important. Yeah. That young, nurturing days, the time, you missed out on that. But we made up a lot over the years. So हमारा जो ताल्लुक है वो मुजफ्फराबाद से है. So a small village, Batangi village in near Patika, Muzaffarabad. And so that's why starting from there, the journey that you take to then being the first in your family to go off to university, to be a barrister, and then to be a member of parliament at 31.
And you were the youngest?
I was one of the youngest. So in the जब मैं nomination का वक्त आया था उस वक्त 2007 में, उसमें 12 कैंडिडेट शॉर्टलिस्ट में थे जिलिंगम की नॉमिनेशन के लिए. एंड उसमें एक नॉमिनेशन थी लिज ट्रस, वो भी कैंडिडेट थी जिलिंगम की नॉमिनेशन के लिए टू बी उनकी मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट. एंड उसके साथ 2 और कॉलीग्स थे जो मेंबर ऑफ कैबिनेट पे बने, एंड वो भी शॉर्टलिस्ट थे. बट जो मेरे हल्के की जो कंस्टिट्यूएंट्स थी वो जिलिंगम के मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट बनना चाहते थे, नॉट बिकॉज वो जिलिंगम से ताल्लुक़ रखते हैं, वो बिकॉज कंजर्वेटिव पार्टी में और यहाँ की जो पॉलिटिक्स में होती है, आप किसी हल्के से आप मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट बन सकते हैं. तो मेरी पोजीशन उसके ये थी कि लोग ये तो मेरा घर है, मैं यहाँ स्कूल गया हूँ, यहाँ जो इनकी जो एज अ लोकल अथॉरिटी जो काउंसिल होती है उसका मैं काउंसिल का मेंबर था 24. एंड वहाँ की जो कैबिनेट है, जो लोकल अथॉरिटी है मेडवे, उसके जो कैबिनेट मेंबर था उनकी हिस्ट्री में यंगेस्ट था 27. सो जो मेरा मैसेज था, लोग मैं अपने हल्के को सबसे बेहतर बनाना चाहता हूँ, ये अच्छे उम्मीदवार हैं because मेरा हल्का है, you have to have the connection and the feeling in that regard. And then so that's how the journey started.
But थोड़ा सा अगर हम पीछे जाएं, so you moved here, and how were the initial sort of first few years of your life? Because again, coming from a small village and area, because that was not, you already had a lot of exposure or something. So और उस time तो like when I've talked to people अभी recently पिछले कुछ podcasts में, there was a lot of more racism compared to right now, especially with the British Pakistanis and obviously with Indians and other. तो उस time initial upbringing आपकी कैसी थी?
Well, जिलिंगम में उस वक्त बहुत ही कम British Pakistani और मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी थी.
और ये एरिया किस साइड पे है?
कैंट में है. उसको आप जाते हैं लंदन से साउथ, एंड कैंट से आगे जाते हैं आप डोवर से आपसे जगह फ्रांस चले जाते हैं. एंड वहाँ जो एक इंडस्ट्रियल टाउन है, वहाँ पहले एक हमारे जो नेवी थी चैटम डॉकयार्ड में 1980s में वो हुकूमत ने उसको वहाँ से ख़त्म कर दिया था. हमारी जो रॉयल इंजीनियर्स है, आर्मी की गैरसन टाउन वो भी है, इंडस्ट्रियल टाउन है. तो उसमें जो पाकिस्तानी कम्युनिटी थी वो बहुत कम थी. वहाँ की जो मस्जिद की कम्युनिटी थी उसमें पाकिस्तानी कम्युनिटी थी, मॉरिशस भी थे और डिफरेंट पार्ट्स ऑफ दुनिया से लोग आए हुए थे वहाँ. मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी बहुत कम थी. वहाँ जो मेजॉरिटी फेथ है जिलिंगम में उस वक्त 1980s में, वो कोई 70% क्रिश्चियन कम्युनिटी थी. एंड उसमें थोड़े सिख कम्युनिटी भी हैं, जो हिंदू कम्युनिटी भी हैं, बट जो मुसलमान कम्युनिटी वो बहुत थोड़ी थी. बट जो उस वक्त का था कि वहाँ की जो सब डिफरेंट एथनिसिटीज़ के लोग, वहाँ बहुत अच्छा इंटीग्रेशन था, जिसको हम कहते हैं इंक्लूसिव सोसाइटी. एंड सर जब मैं आया था जिलिंगम में 1984 में, एंड मुझे तो इंग्लिश नहीं आती थी. स्कूल में आप जाते थे एंड सीखनी पड़ती है, एंड जब आप बच्चे होते हैं आप तो कर लेते हैं. एंड मैं ये यकीनन ये कह सकता हूँ कि जो कंस्टिट्यूएंसी थे वहाँ जिसको हम कहते हैं कि you were accepted for who you were. And I felt accepted for who I am. And जो community थी वहाँ छोटी थी, but जैसे वो कहते हैं ना कि it takes a village to raise a child, सब एक दूसरे की मदद करते थे community में. And जब हम आए थे, because हम तो new थे ना, you have to get used to the system, how the doctors' surgeries work, how the schools work. But no, मैं तो यकीनन कह सकता हूँ, and उसी district को बाद में जाके parliament और council में represent करना, कि जो जिलिंगम उस वक्त और इस वक्त भी जब आप देखते हैं कि वहाँ जो inclusivity और acceptance of different communities वो बहुत अच्छा है.
And how did you sort of जो आपका अपना कल्चर था और विद पाकिस्तान, बिकॉज उसके साथ कैसे आप लोग इन टच उस ज़माने में रहते थे? बिकॉज अभी तो बिकॉज ऑफ द मीडिया एंड लाइक एक्सपोजर एंड एवरीथिंग इट्स लाइक अ बिट ईजी, बट also right now as well, if you see the young kids these days, they don't want to be like, you know, they're like acha, like theek hai we are Pakistanis but not really. So what was your sort of framework?
जो हमारी सिस्टम थी ना ये कि जो वाले साहब थे वो कार में हम उर्दू बोलते थे और हमें भी हम घर में उर्दू बोलते थे, एंड जो वाले साहब मस्जिद में जो खुतबा देते थे वो भी उस वक्त उर्दू थे. कहते आप मुझे इस वक्त कहें कि जो यहाँ की कम्युनिटी के लिए खुतबा उर्दू में होना चाहिए और इंग्लिश में होना चाहिए, इस वक्त तो ऑफ कोर्स इंग्लिश में होना चाहिए, बिकॉज हमारी जो यंग जनरेशन है मोस्टली उनको उर्दू नहीं आता. तो उस वक्त जो वालिद साहब थे और जो अम्मी हैं घर में हमारे साथ उर्दू बोलते थे, एंड उसमें एंड वालिद साहब बिकॉज वो इंटरेस्ट पॉलिटिक्स भी थे, एंड उसको मुझे अभी भी याद है कि जो यहाँ के जो लोकल न्यूज़ एजेंट वहाँ से जो दिल्ली जंग आती है और जो उस वक्त उसके बाद एक और दिल्ली ओसाफ भी थी और दिल्ली मिलत वो पढ़ते थे. सो पॉलिटिक्स घर में सुनते थे अराउंड द लंच यू नो द ब्रेकफास्ट टेबल जिसको कहते हैं. एंड सो जो उन्होंने इंश्योर किया था कि जो आपकी हमारी हेरिटेज है, योर आइडेंटिटी एंड योर हेरिटेज, यू शुड बी प्राउड ऑफ दैट. एंड इसलिए जो मेरी उर्दू शायद इतनी अच्छी ना हो, बट यू नो इम्पोर्टेंट कि आप बोल सकें, अंडरस्टैंड कर सकें. वी कैन ऑलवेज डू बेटर, बट घर में वी हैड टू स्पीक उर्दू विद आवर पेरेंट्स.
और फिर थोड़ा सा हम आगे चलें, लाइक व्हेन यू वर ग्रोइंग अप, तो उस टाइम क्या प्लान था आपका कि व्हाट डू आई वांट टू डू इन लाइफ? बिकॉज अगेन कमिंग टू यूके, नई दुनिया, नया सारा कुछ, और पॉलिटिक्स आई एम श्योर आपने सोचा भी नहीं होगा कि वी माइट गो. सो व्हाट वाज द इनिशियल सॉर्ट ऑफ एस्पिरेशन?
क्रिकेटर.
Okay.
In those days, this is the 1980s.
Okay.
And the 1990s, in those days, you had, you know, it's TV mein dekhte the. I loved sport.
Mm-hmm.
For me, sport was the thing which, that's what I wanted to do. And जो हमारे Kent schools cricket होते हैं, मैंने उनके लिए भी खेला. और उस वक्त मैंने जो Medway schools के जो district थे, and I still remember it, जब आप selection के लिए जाते थे, and I still say this, कि my best bowling figures were 5 wickets for 7 runs against another district team जिसमें मेरे स्कूल के कॉलीग थे, वो प्रोफेशनल क्रिकेट खेलते थे कैंट के लिए और एसेक्स के लिए, डेविड मास्टर्स. एंड of course हम दोस्त थे और rivalry थी, and so David, I took 5 for 7 against your side the other day. But to be a fast bowler, उस वक्त I'm 5'5". To be a fast bowler, you had to be around 6 foot, and I'm not 6 foot. So most of my time was playing cricket. And जब वाले साहब थे ना, उनके लिए एक यह सोच थी, और I think most parents of Indian origin would say my son has to be either a doctor, a lawyer, or an accountant. And then वाले साहब ने मुझे कहा कि look, you have to be a barrister.
And what was the reason?
I think he said, उन्होंने मुझे कहा कि look, इस profession में आप जाके इंसाफ के लिए भी काम कर सकते हैं, और जैसे आप public speaking में भी अच्छा हैं, आप फिर आप go to law and be a barrister. मैं आपको सच बताऊं, मुझे उस वक्त नहीं पता था कि barrister क्या होते हैं. I was I went to a local school in Gillingham. उस वक्त हमारे होते थे कि 11+ कि आप ग्रामर स्कूल में जाते हैं या नहीं जाते. मैं तो अभी मुल्क में थोड़े साल हुए. I didn't go to a grammar school. I went to एक secondary modern school में गया. And but my parents, my dad, वाले साहब ने मुझे कहा कि ना आपने ये करना है. And
you're like, okay, fine.
sure. As long as I played my cricket.
Yeah.
मैं आपको ये बताऊं कि जब क्रिकेट का वक्त था, मैंने ये भी लिखा, मैंने जो PCB थी उनको भी मैंने letter लिखा.
Okay.
Can I do it? Of course,
Because
जब आप young
Imran Khan
होते
was also playing here, na, around
हैं,
at
he
that.
was playing. He had just this is in the 1990s. He had just won the World Cup, and it was at that time. He was, from a sporting perspective, he was an icon. It was him and Yang, Ian Botham थे. उनकी जो rivalry होती थी, and it was just, and then Jan Wasim Akram खेलते थे for Lancashire, and Wakar Yunus used to play for Surrey, and so most of my summers, I'm on the cricket pitch. I'm just, but studies were there, but I think it was more for sports.
So you finish your law degree.
Yes.
And then what was the plan? Obviously, the plan was कि अच्छा मैंने ये तो कर लिया, like I want to go into like a job market.
Yes. I wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay.
So once the decision was made that I wanted to, I can go and read law at university. So my University of Wales, I risked me 1997 में. And then it was 3 years. I'm student politics with the National Union students. And then uske baad, I had to do my bar finals. And 2001, I was called to the bar at Lincoln's Inn. Lincoln's Inn, 2001. And uske baad, you have to go for pupillage. Pupillage card, do your, after your pupillage, and then you practice in London in chambers for 8 years before you go off to Parliament. And
then वहाँ से फिर politics में कैसे, how did you move into that? And you were not following politics or something like.
Do you know, I always had an interest in politics. Okay. And because politics was with Walid Sahab, I used to speak politics. And then in those days, and this is how some of the other chapters started. So in those days, when I was at university, I wanted to get experience of Parliament. I knew no one. And so many of us were got 350 members of Parliament got letter. Wow. Can I be your researcher?
Like actual letter?
Yeah, actual letter. So you have to do it, go and post it. उसके emails इतना नहीं चलते थे जितने आप letter उस वक्त करते हैं. And उसके बाद मुझे 3 offer आए. One from cabinet, Ruth Kelly, उसका transport की cabinet member थी. And दूसरी Helen Brinton जो MP of Peterborough थी उस वक्त. And उन्होंने मुझे कहा कि आप हमारे साथ summer में time लाएं. And I chose Helen Brinton जो backbench member of Parliament थी and not the cabinet member. Because मैंने समझा मुझे ज़्यादा experience कहाँ मिलेगा. जो cabinet में होते हैं वो तो cabinet में meetings होती हैं. जो backbench होते हैं उन्होंने मुझे कहा कि आप community engagement strategy, Peterborough में large Muslim community, Pakistani community भी है, and you will have more hands-on experience. So I spent 1999 in the House of Commons in the summer as a researcher.
And how old were you? So you finished your degree?
No, I hadn't. I was. I'd started in 97, and this was my second year. Okay. In the summer, I was in the House of Commons.
Wow. And how was that experience? And again, like, usko bhi, like, how did you look from a very macro lens, like coming from Pakistan,
yes, cricket,
Walid Sahab ki duniya alag, and then coming into a British Parliament,
Yeah, I think it was a massive eye opener. This is, you are here in Parliament. You're now stepped up as a intern researcher. You had to learn quickly. You have to prove yourself. You've been given a chance. And that's what I would say to anyone. If you've been given a chance, you're in the deep end. And it was, it's everything you learn from one to the other. I then also did time with Peter Skinner, the European Member of Parliament. So मैंने उनको भी लिखा कि मैं आपके साथ भी वक्त ला सकता हूँ. And उन्होंने मुझे कहा कि आप हमारे साथ आके 1 महीना लाएं. इसकी जर्नी ऐसे शुरू होती है पाकिस्तान के साथ. फिर वालिद साहब के एक बहुत क्लोज दोस्त और जो फैमिली भी हैं, उनको मैं फैमिली कंसिडर करता था, वो थे सबज़ादा इसाक ज़फ़र साहब. सबज़ादा इसाक ज़फ़र साहब और वालिद साहब एक ही वक्त पॉलिटिक्स में थे आज़ाद कश्मीर में. एंड सबज़ादा इसाक ज़फ़र साहब प्रेसिडेंट भी थे, स्पीकर भी थे, और इन 90s जब वो यहाँ आते थे वो सीनियर मिनिस्टर थे. एंड उन्होंने मुझे कहा 1999 में रे, उधर मेरा नाम रहमान है, मुझे सब मेरे दोस्त कंस्टिट्यूंट्स में रे कहते हैं, शॉर्टन किया, कि मैं ब्रिटिश मेंबर्स ऑफ पार्लियामेंट को मिलना चाहता हूँ. on the Kashmir issue. आप पार्लियामेंट में काम करते हैं और वो हमारे घर आके ठहरते थे. And so उस वक्त उनको हमने numerous members of parliament को बुलाए. And on the, Oldham के MP थे, Phil Wallace, उसको George Galloway भी थे जो member of parliament कश्मीर करते थे. And so, and उसके बाद उन्होंने मुझे कहा कि Rehman, I would like to do an interview on the media. And so आपको पता है कि जब इशू नहीं होता, ब्रॉडकास्टर्स तो आपको नहीं लेते. मैंने कहा ठीक है अंकल साहब, हम कोशिश तो करते हैं. एंड फ्रॉम BBC, ITV, उनकी जो डिक्शनरी होती है डिफरेंट नंबर्स, उन सबको मैंने फ़ोन किया. और उस वक्त एक चैनल हमारे पास आ गया, स्काई न्यूज़. स्काई न्यूज़ के उस वक्त क्या प्रोड्यूसर होते थे, अभी भी दोस्त हैं, कैल्विन ओशे. उन्होंने मुझे कहा, उस स्काई का ऑस्ट्रेलिया ऑफिस था, उन्होंने मुझे कहा कि sure, we'll do the interview. And we'll send a car. And I said, thank you very much. We'll make sure उसका जब senior minister थे, उनको आप कहते हैं कि deputy prime minister will come and speak on Kashmir. And उसके बाद 1999 में अंकल इसाक जो CEC के member थे, Central Executive Committee People Party के, and भुट्टो साहब के साथ भी थे और बीबी शहीद के साथ भी थे. And 1999 में उन्होंने मुझे कहा कि रे आपने तो पार्लियामेंट को भी जानते हैं, आपने मेरा इंटरव्यू भी करा दिया, which was by chance because I tried it, and मैं बीवी को मिला हूँ, and बीवी needs a researcher. मैं आपका इंटरव्यू करा सकता हूँ, but एक कंडीशन है. मैं अंकल के साथ क्या कंडीशन है? If you mess it up, you messed up my 30 years with her father and Bibi. Would you want to do the interview? And of course, Bibi was for.
And you were still in.
I was at university.
Yeah. And this is your third, fourth year. Roughly.
Coming into my final year, 1999.
So you did your parliament internship and
in the summer.
Yeah.
And then in that इस summer में September में Uncle Isaac यहाँ थे. And would you do the interview with Bibi? What do you say? What do you say?
What was your reaction?
Just really? And it was just, you couldn't believe it. And thinking, he goes, but what you did with Parliament, with all the interviews and the meetings, and it wasn't just setting up a meeting, you have to brief. I was a researcher, you have to brief your members of Parliament. And then इनका जो interviews का था ये अच्छा हुआ. And then उसके बाद I met Bibi Shahid in 1999. And it was at a dinner reception at her house. And उस वक्त दफ्तर में होते थे Uncle Wajid Shamsul Hassan Saab, marhum. And also दफ्तर में होते थे Rehman Malik Saab, marhum.
He was the, Wajid Saab was the ambassador.
He was the former High Commissioner. And Rehman Malik Saab was, went on to be the former Interior Minister of Pakistan. And then Uncle Ihsan Zafar introduces me to Bibi Shahid. I'm 19. But she never made me feel like that. She made me feel the most important person in front of you, in her. And I remember this very well. And she said, so what can you do to help me with regards to the restoration of democracy in Pakistan? I'm 19.
And you're 19.
I'm 19. I'm 19.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, well, I think, you have an excellent engagement already with the House of Commons and the British Parliament. But I think there's something else we can do. And then it was, what do you think we can do? I said, well, I think there's another layer of government that we can engage with, because we have the Scottish Parliament, the Welsh Assembly, and we have the regional parliaments, which all elect members of Parliament. And I think it would be good to engage with them. And these are my two references from the Member of Parliament, Helen Brinton and Peter Skinner, to show that I have engaged and worked in those areas. And so the conversation continued. And then she took the pen out. She wrote down details and said, that's for you. And I said, so what's that? And she said, that's the address that you need to come to tomorrow to my house. And at this time. And I said, okay, I'll get the cab and I'll come to the office. She said, no, don't get a cab. You're a student. Get the bus.
Wow.
She was, and I just thought, but I have to say, and I did tell her afterwards, I did not get the bus. I got the taxi. I didn't want to be late. So I went to the office, and it was the housekeepers there was Sita. And
what was your sort of reaction to when she said, "Ke kal se like come and start working," and you're 19? And then what was that night sort of looks like? Because you were excited, I'm sure.
Yeah. I've just opposite, somebody who you admire. And, it's the former twice Prime Minister of Pakistan, Oxford, Harvard. And you're thinking, I'm starting to work tomorrow with these just most wonderful, amazing, inspirational politicians.
Also the imposter syndrome as well. Like,
I just couldn't believe it. But then the question then is, but I have to do the job.
Yeah.
So you have to then go in there. But Uncle Isaac was so excited for me as well because you passed the interview.
Yeah.
And my father, because he had been with her father in the 70s. And so he was over the moon. But one thing is getting the role. You've got to deliver.
And was it a paid internship? Like, what was it? It was just like, just come and start.
Just come and start. And I did. And I remember my first day as I turned up. Sita was the housekeeper. Opened the door. Yes, waiting for you. Madam's left those papers for you to look at. Ah, okay. She said, if you could analyze those papers. I was a student at university doing law. The papers were Sir John Morris's legal opinion on one of the cases, fabricated cases against her. She said, Madam said, if you could summarize the papers and look at those. Okay. So I just went through the paperwork.
And you were sitting and working from her house already?
Her office was her house. Okay. And then, so I went through the paperwork and then Bibi came in later on. And you went through what you had looked at, the points on there. And, but it was just a surreal experience. I'm 19 and I'm working with one of the most well-regarded politicians in the world. And, but you were at the deep end. And again, we had a scenario where Bibi wanted an interview on the media. So we need to do an interview on the media. This time I was prepared. Kelvin O'Shea at Sky News was my good friend. So he had done the interview and I said, Kelvin, I've now moved on to work with the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, Benazir Bhutto, and we would love to do an interview. And she would love to do an interview. And he goes, what, you working with Benazir Bhutto, the former Prime Minister of Pakistan? I said, yes, I moved over. I was advising the Deputy Prime Minister of Kashmir. Now I'm with Benazir Bhutto. He goes, and this is in 1999. And this is where it's surreal. And he goes, yeah, sure, we could do that. Bibi was somebody who, she got the big picture. This is 1999. I had fixed up the interview with Sky News. I'm now gone back to the university in Wales. I was walking through the law library. Bibi was going to the US. And she said, I will do the interview on that day when I come back. Can you make sure the interview happens on that day? I said, sure, Kelvin, we need to do the interview on that day. Can we make sure? Okay, sure. The interview will happen on that day. All right. I'm back in Wales. And I suddenly get a phone call from CBS News. Said, Ray Chisti. I said, yes. Advice to Benazir Bhutto. I said, yes, I do work with Benazir Bhutto, yes. I said, there is a military takeover in Pakistan. Would you know where the former Prime Minister of Pakistan is? I said, let me pass your request into the office. And it was the day that Bibi had asked for an interview on Sky News. On that day, at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Bibi was on the 5 o'clock breaking news on Sky News.
Oh, what a coincidence.
How I would like to do an interview on that day, coming back from the United States. And it was on every news channel. She was the first person on talking about the issue. And then it was the rest of the team. It was, we used to say RM, Ram Alexa, and Uncle Wajid. I'm in Wales now, back at university. Can you pick this up from your end? But she was just the most remarkable person to work with.
And what did you learn from Benazir while working with her at the age of 19? Like, if I ask you, like, what are the top, like, sort of, 4 or 5 things which you have learned and which help you, like, in your career?
I think I remember asking Bibi this. I said, Bibi, what's the key to your success? And she said to me, perseverance. Never give up. Keep going. You go through tough times, but if you believe in what you do, you have to be determined and you have to keep going and you've got to fight for what you believe in. The other one was when I was at the office and we were there till late in the evening, midnight, and she always used to say to me, never leave till tomorrow what you can do today. So before you scoot to get out to leave my office, make sure you've done the emails and the paperwork. So that stayed with me all the way through being a minister, being a member of parliament, being a British envoy. I'd always used to say to my staff, never leave till tomorrow what you do today to make sure we get this done today. I think with Bibi also, she was prepared to give people a chance. It wasn't of your age, it wasn't of background. If you were good enough, if you're competent, for me when I was in government, and then when I was running in the Conservative Party leadership for the Prime Ministers in 2022, I said you've got to have a merit-based system because that's how the country benefits. You get people who are competent, able, and you give people a chance. So I remember that time when people was giving different responsibilities to different people on the team, I was given the Foreign Office in London. So I was the one who was had to take the file and convey the message to the desk officers on Pakistan. And then you had to then convey the message back. You always have to make sure you remember exactly what was said and make sure the notes are taken and do that. And then it was and then do the briefing beforehand. And then the other thing which I learned with Bibi was absolutely brilliant. Always start from the bottom to the top. Before you get to the meeting with the Foreign Secretary, Jack Straw, build a relationship with the desk officers, with the director of the department, as you get to the Secretary of State. So from 1999, working with all the different desk officers that we had for Pakistan, we then got the meeting with Jack Straw in 2005. Wow. 2005, Bibi's meeting with Jack Straw. And I've got the picture here. There was it was Uncle Wajid in that meeting. It was myself in that meeting. And of course, Bibi and Jack Straw on looking at transition to democracy in Pakistan. And then again in 2004, because everyone wants to ask the question is, how did these transition talks start? Or how does it work? Or the qualities that Bibi had. She trusted her team. She absolutely trusted her team. And in 2004, I was in Islamabad. Our High Commissioner at the time was Sir Mark Lyle Grant. And I remember going to see him. I was working with Bibi in London. And in Islamabad, it was with Uncle Isaac Zafar, who was staying at Kashmir House, and call in and would like to see the High Commissioner. And this is a great quality of Sir Mark as well. I was a youngster, and you know what it's like. You want to see the British High Commissioner. And he said, yes, the British High Commissioner would like to see you, come tomorrow. And so went for the meeting with Sir Mark. And it was in that meeting the conversation started. Have you considered transition to democracy, rapprochement between Bibi and the administration in Pakistan? I'm 19.
Wow.
And said, look, I'm very happy to convey the message back for you. And that point. And he goes, this is what the system is looking at in Pakistan at the time, 2004. I was excited. Hang on, there's a way forward here. And I then went out and I called Bibi in Dubai, who was in Dubai at the time. So Ray, you may want to have this conversation with me when you're either in Dubai or when you're in London, but not when you're in Pakistan and calling me from there. I said, Yes. So it's you went back to London, and you put the message in, and then Uncle Wajid and I went and drafted a letter and gave to the Foreign Office about the transition to democracy with regards to what Bibi wanted, how she think it should happen, and then arranged for the British High Commissioner to visit Dubai to meet with Bibi. And I flew in from London. And that comes back to your point. It's Bibi immensely trusted her team. And if you could do the job, she gave you a chance to do it. So her qualities was she believed in the merits-based system. She was also exceptionally kind. I remember being in the office when Bibi used to travel from abroad and come back. She used to bring little gifts for all her team. And being the first one on the team, she said, well, you pick which tie you want, do that. But it was her team, she was just, we loved her because she was the most amazing and kind person, above the former Prime Minister of Pakistan twice, inspiration and icon to people around the world. But she, as a person, she valued you and she believed in you. And I remember when I went off to university, the little notes that Bibi used to send. So I've got the notes over here from 1999. So this is the handwritten note that Bibi gave me. So I was representing at party conference, Labour Party conference with Uncle Wajid. And I wasn't going to get a chance to see her. There was KK Aga was one of the lawyers who is now in the High Court in Sindh. And I said, KK, can you please let Bibi know if she's back in the office that, I'm going to go straight back to Kent. He said, I have, and she wants to see you. So I went back into the office and she gave me my note, appreciating your work and saying, read this on the way back to Kent. And she was just, it's that,
small little things, and then you get you have the then the letter in 2000 in the book, to my most brilliant assistant whose energy, intelligence, keenness and discipline and devotion is admirable, with best wishes, Bibi. I think it's, I've traveled the world as a minister, as a British envoy. You meet different people, you see different leaderships, but with Bibi, her empathy for people, her vision, the intellect. I think if she was here today, Pakistan would be a different scenario. I'm not just saying it because I work with her, but you see the leadership. Yeah, that was my question. Like my next question, कि अगर आज आपके ख्याल से बीबी जिंदा होती हैं,
yes,
तो क्या आपको लगता है कि क्या different होना था?
I think you had a prime minister who was well respected around the world. When you have challenges between the East and the West, you need leadership who could...
connected everywhere.
Who was connected, respected, but also who was somebody who also, I think, back in Pakistan, I think, who could bring people back together. The challenge that you have in Pakistan is you have the concept of there's no civility and respect for one another. And I remember seeing a speech of Bibi when she was in the National Assembly, and she was saying to me herself, as the leader of the opposition, you put your teams together and I'll put my teams together, and let's find a way forward that will work together. And I think you need a system where you can have a difference of opinion, but it should always be about civility and respect. And I call it a maturity in politics. And so vision, experience as the Prime Minister twice before, somebody who's internationally respected. And I think on the third term, having seen how the country works before, I think this would have been the time to take Pakistan to the next level.
अगर आज हम लोग पाकिस्तानी politics को, like when you see from a very outside perspective lens, like what's your sort of analysis about Pakistan? Because you have worked with Bibi, with the British government, आपने आपस में negotiate भी काफ़ी चीज़ें करवाई, on a very on a macro level, like what do you think is where is the problem?
I think there's a number of problems. पहले तो हम ये कहते हैं, look, जो पाकिस्तान की आवाम है, it's a great nation. Because मैं आपको बताऊं जो मेरा personal experience था, 2005 के जो earthquake हुआ था, उसके जो एपी सेंटर था वो मुजफ्फराबाद था. उसमें हमने over 20 family members को lose किया था. I lost my grandfather in the earthquake. And my mother went back to Pakistan, to Muzaffarabad, against Foreign Office advice not to go back because she had to find her family. And I saw in those difficult times what the people of Pakistan had to go through. And there have been many other challenges, across the board on national disasters. And you got terrorism. जब मैं parliament था उस वक्त जो Peshawar school incident हुआ था, it was shocking. And उसमें हमने floor of the house में debate भी कराया था कि पाकिस्तान की full support करनी चाहिए in every sector it needs. And we see what Pakistani diaspora do around the world. They're hard workers. Just they're grafters. They want to succeed. Pakistan की जो internal situation ये है, and I accept that newish democracy here, we're looking at since 1940s, जो separation of power sadly Pakistan में is ineffective. जिसको हम कहते हैं the separation between the judiciary, the executive, the legislature. And unless you have a demarcation of check and balance, जो एक दूसरे पर काम करता है, the country is not going to succeed to the level it is. उसमें जो दूसरी बात होती है कि जो I think some of it is the West has a responsibility. Say, for example, I've always advocated democracy is where Pakistan's future lies. But then if, say, for example, the United States, if the United States want a decision, they will call Pindi first before they call the Prime Minister's office.
Why do you think they do that? Like, because they know the power lies there? Yeah, it's just now, like, what's their mindset?
Yeah, I think
because when you say, like, we need to support the democracy,
yeah.
But then you're calling Pindi.
Yeah, I think the norm, it has become the norm, sadly. But I think Pakistan's army, it's as a, which does a fantastic job in protecting the country. We've seen it in recent times on the border. Absolutely. But the internal running of the country should be done by an elected parliament. Elected parliament, and the party with the largest number of seats. And you should respect the people's decision in a free and fair elections in this regard. And I think, Joe, the challenge that you have in Pakistan is, and this is why I think politicians of all parties, and when I was in Parliament, I was chair of the Parliamentary Committee on Pakistan, all-party parliamentary group. They have to have civility and respect towards one another. For example, when I lost my parliamentary seat after 14 years, I shook my successor's hand on the concession speech, and I said, I wish you well and all the very best in delivering for this great constituency. It's because that's where you want to be at. Yeah. And Pakistan's got many challenges. Economically, when I was a trade envoy for Pakistan, you were massive opportunities. And उस वक्त पाकिस्तान के साथ जो GSP plus trade status था with Europe, हम उस वक्त Brexit से बाहर आ गए थे, but we still have a very good relationship with our European partners. And we're trying to do everything we can to support Pakistan in that regard. But they have to then make sure management, governance is done fully. Trade agreements, export, import, balance done properly. If you can do that, you accept you have challenges in some parts. Counterterrorism, if you look at Pakistan, it is the country which has one of the largest loss of lives to acts of terrorism within the country. It has. It has taken, 3 million refugees from Afghanistan. It has national disasters on floods, earthquake. So I think it's when you have those different challenges, you need to make sure that you have good governance, you have mutual respect for one another, and your institutions are fully working within their remit.
आपने काफ़ी जैसे आपने जिक्र किया कि बीबी का तो आपने उनके साथ तो काम किया, then parliamentary committees में जो पाकिस्तान को देख रहे थे वो भी.
Yes.
When you look from a very again macro level, जो इंटरनेशनल कंट्रीज़ की इन्वॉल्वमेंट है पाकिस्तान में इन द पाकिस्तानी पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम के किसको लाना है किसको नहीं लाना, हाउ डू यू सी दैट? बिकॉज अगेन एक आम बंदा अभी भी वेदर यू सेड लाइक अ कॉन्स्पिरेसी थ्योरी और व्हाट कि अमेरिका जो है वो डिसाइड करता है कि अगला आर्मी चीफ कौन होगा या अगला वजीर आजम कौन होगा. हाउ मच रियलिटी इज दैट?
I think आज के दौर में बहुत people कहते हैं, कोई कहते हैं उनके जिसको हम कहते हैं fake news होता है. People have different conspiracy theories. जैसे आपने COVID में देखा, कहते हैं कि look, if you take the vaccination, the government's putting a jab, a chip in your in you, and ये तो complete nonsense था. I think जो internationally, of course, look, the reality is Pakistan जो है, it has very good relations with China and has very good relations with the United States and has very good relationship with the United Kingdom and other जो Arab countries हैं. But in terms of your domestic situation, कौन army chief होता है, कौन नहीं होता, that's a domestic matter for Pakistan. That, there's no interference from external forces in that regard. That's internal matter who comes in that regard. But of course, जैसे आपने अभी देखे जो challenges होते हैं, India, Pakistan, then you do have regional powers have their own interest. Afghanistan, China supported Pakistan. You have India had its own countries which supported. And that's a key part of your foreign policy. You have to build relationships with countries around the world. Every country has its own national interest. But you don't have to build relationships and alliances at a time of difficulty who will come to your aid. And I think जो हमने अभी देखा था situation in Pakistan में, Turkey was prepared to support Pakistan. China has supported Pakistan. Economically, if you're looking at import and exports, without China's support for Pakistan economically, Pakistan's in a difficult position. Pakistan has a very good relationship with the Middle East countries. But also those Middle East countries also have a relationship with India.
Yeah. They have probably more relationship with India.
If you then thinking alliances.
Yeah. Even Afghanistan now is like getting closer to India.
Well, I think, but this is nothing new. We, 2017 में हमने parliamentary delegation ले गए थे. So High Commissioner Ibn Abbas साहब थे यहाँ और मैं committee का chairman था. उन्होंने मुझे कहा कि रहमान, look, we need to make sure that parliamentarians have a proper understanding of Pakistan. I said, okay, well, we need to have a delegation to Pakistan. So उस वक्त हमने 8 members of parliament we took to Pakistan, and they went to Karachi, they went to Lahore, and then we took them to Azad Kashmir, to a refugee camp. So they could see for themselves, because seeing is believing. And we had a briefing by the National Security Advisor of Pakistan at the time. And they were very clear. They said, look, India's got outposts in Afghanistan, which are focusing on Pakistan. That was their message clearly to British parliamentarians. So the issue with Afghanistan and the challenge Pakistan faces is nothing new. So the question then is, how do you address those challenges? And that's where foreign policy and building alliances is absolutely crucial, because we live in an interconnected world. What happens in Ukraine affects the United Kingdom, affects the United States, security-wise. But economically, when what we saw happened in Ukraine, then had a massive impact in the UK energy sector, because उस वक्त में तो Foreign Office का sanctions minister था. So when you're applying sanctions on Russian entities and you're cutting off oil from Russia, you have to get it from elsewhere. Yeah. And your cost is going up here. And if you're a politician in any country, you have to address the needs of your country. So energy, massive challenge for the UK. And how do we address that when we're applying sanctions elsewhere? And then it's about alliances for us. If we want to, this is the United Kingdom, support the people of Ukraine, and on the concept of, to respect their territorial integrity, you need to get more countries on board. But we had a challenge there as well. The challenge there was there's 44 non-aligned states, 44 non-aligned states which are not supporting the United Kingdom and its Western allies on Ukraine. We can apply as many sanctions as we can, but without having other countries come on board, they won't be as effective as possible. For example, India. India is not part of the sanctions against Russia. But not only does India not apply sanctions, it buys the oil, it refines it, and it sells it back into Europe. So they play two sides. Yeah. They want to say they're with us and stand as the largest democracy in the world. At the same time, when you ask them to support you in a difficult area of policy, They have not supported the West in that. And I raised this with Rishi Sunak on the floor of the House. I said, look, you're going to India. Does that mean India will now change their policy and support us in these moments? No. It's everyone looks out for their own national interest. But you have to, in today's interconnected world, build relationships, build alliances to be able to survive in this difficult, challenging world. And Pakistan, I think, has its relationship both with the UK, the US, the China, and the Middle East countries.
Why do you think Pakistan is unable to build these relationships? Because हमने देखा कि India के आपने जिक्र किया, India's PR and positioning in the world is just massive. Like when Modi did this trip to US, like, you know, look at the news at that time. There's a proper PR push and obviously like all the other things as well. So where is Pakistan lacking? And not just like from a Pakistani political perspective, but like whether it's a Kashmir issue or like any other sort of issues.
I think जो सवाल है कि look, in compared to India and Pakistan, how they are perceived abroad or how they engage and the reaction they get. There is like comparing apples and pears. Apples and pears in the sense that on economic terms, India's economy is far bigger than Pakistan's. That's the reality. And therefore, with India, and the same thing जो back in the United Kingdom, जो हमारी हुकूमत कह रही थी, conservative हुकूमत or Labour हुकूमत, they needed a free trade agreement with India for economic reasons. Pakistan cannot compete. No. That's a fact. And जो कहेंगे कर सकते हैं, look, this is not reality. And therefore there is a different relationship from an economic perspective. But Pakistan strategically is in a location which is very important to both the United Kingdom and the United States.
Like still now, after the US left Afghanistan?
Yeah, I think that was a mistake.
Do you think that was a mistake?
I think it was a mistake, and I'll tell you why it was a mistake.
From the US side?
Yes. I'll tell you why it was a mistake. Because in 1989, when the Russians were defeated, Pakistan was on the front line. And once the Russians were defeated, everyone left. And then there was a neighboring country, Pakistan, that had to pick up the pieces. In comes, you had the Taliban, and then you had all the other factors that came in the country. And then who had to pick up the pieces? The neighboring country, Pakistan, who had to take in all the refugees. Pakistan had to take, 3 million refugees it had. And so therefore the end game, it was a mess. The international community, everyone wanted to defeat Russia. But when it came to having a proper strategic plan where the country goes next, there was none.
Yeah, our work is done. We are going bye-bye.
Great.
Yeah.
And then that is then that's what it's affects your true friends. And Pakistan was a true friend of the West at the time. It said, look, we work with you in this. And then when you've had your objective achieved, you walked away and we had to pick up all the mess. And you then look at all the challenges that Pakistan had with internal terrorism was spilling in from Afghanistan into Pakistan. And so I think my view was, look, having seen that mess in 1989, now simply just the United States walking out and saying, we're done. United Kingdom and other countries did not want to leave, but without the Americans, we could not stay. And therefore, I think if you are going to finish a project, you should be doing it with consensus rather than just simply on a unilateral basis, which the United States did. So I have a different view to that, and I think many in Parliament, or decision आई थी Parliament में, हम सब ने Parliament में कहा था, and I even said, look, the end game here, we haven't learned our lessons from 1989 in that regard, and I think there is still a massive security risk in Afghanistan.
No, but you think the British government was not on the page with the US when
no, not on that one. No. I think it was.
But how is it possible?
Well, I think हमारे Defence Secretary Ben Wallace on the floor of the House in Parliament, उन्होंने कहा था on the floor of the House in Parliament, look, we should stay in this regard. And walking out, America had its own interests. And I think you had governments which, if you look at it now with this government, with President Trump, is the mindset that you're dealing with, bring back our boys. America doesn't want to be the policeman of the world. It wants to have its own focus on its own internal economic cells. And the view was, if you wanted to go and deal with issues in different parts of the world, i.e. Europe and your partners, you go and do it. We're not going to do it in that regard. So the United Kingdom was not on the same page as the United States in coming out from Afghanistan. And I do still think there is a massive security challenge that we will have from Afghanistan in years to come.
In Britain as well,
I
do you
would
think?
say around the world, security challenge. I think there's a massive security challenge that we'll have from Afghanistan.
Lastly, if you talk about the Kashmir issue, हम लोग देखते हैं कि जो पैलेस्टीनियन कॉज है उसके ऊपर अराउंड द वर्ल्ड पीपल आर टॉकिंग. अभी जस्ट रिसेंटली आई थिंक लास्ट वीक देयर इज सच अ बिग प्रोटेस्ट लाइक ओवर द लास्ट लाइक 1 or 2 years ज़रा बहुत ज़्यादा हुआ जब से सारा 7th October के बाद चीज़ें हुई. Why is the Kashmir issue इतना ज़्यादा हम लोग उसको वर्ल्ड वाइड उसको पोजिशन नहीं कर पाए कि people start like really talking about the Kashmir cause as they are talking about the Palestinian cause?
Well, I think the first thing हमने ये कहना चाहिए कि जो फ़लस्तीन में इस वक्त हो रहा है is completely shocking.
Yeah.
The scale of the loss of life. 50,000 जो मासूम बच्चे हैं, innocent people are losing their lives. And that is completely and utterly unacceptable. The scale of it is shocking. And इसीलिए दुनिया जो कहती है ना कि look, आप कहते हैं कि यूक्रेन में कि we should support the West with regards to respecting the rule of law, territorial integrity, and then at the same time जो कुछ हो रहा है फ़लस्तीन में. What about respecting the Security Council resolutions? What about the 1967 border proposals for East Jerusalem? And the Security Council resolution was drafted by the United Kingdom at the time. And with regards to proportionality in the use of force by Israel, which is completely, it's being disapplied with the loss of the scale and the loss of innocent lives. Inconsistency in international law in that regard. With जो कुछ हम देख रहे हैं इस वक्त फ़लस्तीन में. I think जो आपको question है कि look, comparing the two, I would not want to go into the point, one is bad and the other is even worse. The fact is, I was born in Muzaffarabad. Kashmir का जो issue है, and we've seen the loss of lives. यहाँ लंदन में होते थे Dr. U Thakur साहब, and he was a fierce champion for Kashmiris. And I remember जो demonstration होते थे, I was on those demonstrations, saying that people of Kashmir should be given their right to self-determination. But जो आपका question है कि
why are we unable to position the cause, not like again comparing with obviously Palestine, but generally कि लोग उसके ऊपर उस तरीके के साथ बात करें globally? Do you think we are really bad in PR?
I don't think that is the case. जब मैं पार्लियामेंट में था उस वक्त मैंने चेयर की थी जो आपके हाई कमिश्नर यहाँ थे नफीस ज़करिया साहब. उन्होंने कश्मीर समिट की थी पार्लियामेंट में जिसमें आपके पाकिस्तान के फॉरम से शाह महमूद कराची साहब और जो प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ आज़ाद कश्मीर थे वो भी थे और पार्लियामेंटेरियंस थे. There was a lot of support and there's a lot of British Pakistani Kashmiri community here. So I don't think कि it hasn't been projected. वो ये है कि different मुल्क में अपना interest है and therefore जो position consistently आती है conservative government के और Labour government में. ये तो Labour government है, डेविड लैमी foreign secretary है, इनके साथ ही Florida House पर question किया था. वो कह रहे थे कि this is a matter which India and Pakistan must decide and find a way forward. जो conservative previous government थी, this is an issue which India and Pakistan must come together and find a way in that regard. But जो Security Council का जो resolution है 47 का resolution है उसमें है कि कश्मीरी अवाम को उनका हक मिलना चाहिए to determine their own future. I think the reason that we have not seen movement on this is different countries with their geopolitical interest with India have not wanted to push this. But with their own interest. But your basic fundamental right with regards to the Kashmiri people for the right for self-determination. That's where to determine their own destiny. that ties into जो foreign policy को हम कहते हैं ना कि international rules-based system. Into international rules-based system है कि we'll respect the rule of law, we'll respect Security Council resolutions. But if you are respecting Security Council resolutions, then put aside those geopolitical interests and say the reality is the people of Kashmir have their right to self-determination, to determine their own destiny, as you did with East Timor. East Timor had a right to determine their own destiny, and they chose their own path. And then the Kashmir ka jo issue hai, unka jo categorically okay, to determine their own destiny, they should be given that. And therefore, I think, therefore it comes down to what kind of an international rules we are advocating. If it's an international rules-based system, then we should not, the West, we should not pick and choose which Security Council resolutions we apply, which Security Council resolutions we should not apply. I think this one, there should be a unanimous decision to support that Security Council on that. And also, I think on that regard, it's जो कुछ आपने अभी देखा है पाकिस्तान और इंडिया की जो situation है, those challenges will continue unless you deal with the root cause. Yeah. The root cause is Kashmir. And you have to have a way forward. जो कुछ हमने देखा है with the innocent loss of lives is unacceptable. People don't want war. They don't want conflict. They don't want terrorism. Wherever it is, Pakistan's lost innocent lives to terrorism, more than many countries in the world. And then जब issue आता है, you have to then find a way forward. And जो find a way forward, जो मैं कह रहा हूँ कि जब, for example, जो incidents अभी horrific incidents India में हुए थे, जो loss of life थी, वो terrorism थे, of course they were. But then to simply then say that this is done or sponsored by Pakistan, was completely utter nonsense. The reason I say it's completely utter nonsense, it's have an independent inquiry. United Nations to है ना. Why don't you say these issues have arisen? Because मैं आपको ये कहना चाहता हूँ, because जो मुज़फ़्फ़रात में जो शेलिंग हुई थी, वहाँ हमारी फैमिली उसके करीब रहती हैं. वो एक मस्जिद थी. It was not, जिसको कहते हैं ना कि a site which was for terrorism. It's completely utter nonsense. So you need to ensure that when these issues arise, that you have a proper process, an independent inquiry. The UN does it. Both sides come together, because otherwise you'll have innocent people losing their lives. And in the long term, you need to find a solution to this in line with international commitments. Because otherwise, you make a mockery of the international system, because people say you pick and choose which ones you want to apply. And that causes a lot of friction, discontent, when you want to be dealing with these big issues in a fair and transparent way.
And lastly, like what Pakistan should do in this regard, like take internationally and India, wo to hai sara, like what is something which is Pakistan not doing
on the issue of Kashmir?
Yeah,
I think Pakistan has to continuously raise this at every forum. I think if whether it's at the United Nations, whether it's part of the overall issue about peace in the region. So if you're saying you've got two nuclear powers, who God forbid, something goes wrong, then the loss of life on both sides is going to be absolutely immense. And nobody wants that. But the question is, this is now gone on for too long. Unless you resolve the underlying issue, you are going to have massive challenges for peace and stability in the South Asia region, which then has massive implications globally in that regard. So I would say Pakistan needs to make sure that it reminds the international community, you want us to support you on an international rules-based system in this part of the world, in that part of the world, in that part of the world. We want you to resolve this issue in line with the international commitments that you're asking us to support elsewhere. I think the United States President Trump has said he's happy to bring the two sides together and help on this. I think it should be a key part of the fora. Of course, you look at your bilateral relationships with countries around the world, but you have to make it a key tenet of regional peace and stability in South Asia, that unless this issue is resolved, then you're going to have challenges. The other one that comes back where this issue can come in is there is over 1.5 million British Pakistanis in the United Kingdom. They have a large presence in a number of parliamentary seats around the country. They have a voice. Many have used it before. But if you're asking me in terms of the next 4 to 5 years, circumstances are going to change in the United Kingdom. I don't see any one political party winning a clear majority.
Okay.
Looking at the rise of reform, looking at where Labour is, looking at where the Conservative Party is. Of course, I'd love to see my party win. But the reality is, I don't see any one party at the moment being able to command 326 seats. And therefore, these marginal seats where there are large British Pakistani Muslim community, they have absolutely, the opportunity to make sure that they raise these issues with their elected members of parliament to ensure that this core issue is addressed by all political parties.
Rehman bhai, thank you so much
Pleasure.
for taking the time.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.